We're in the process qualitative risk analysis as part of project risk management. Along with plan risk management, identify risks, quantitative risk analysis, and plan risk response. This is, of course, part of the planning processes of risk management. And when we are performing qualitative risk analysis, we're probably using a probability and impact matrix. And the good thing is that the probability and impact matrix makes us think about the risk. We should never think of it as it's a very loose and subjective tool. The good news is, though, that it helps us think about the risk and helps us prioritize one risk against the other risks. So here's a probability and impact matrix. This is just one that's low, medium, and high probability, low, medium on the vertical, low, medium, and high impact on the horizontal. Any risk that plots generally in the lower left of that grid is going to be a low priority risk. Risks that plot up here are going to be a medium priority risk. Risks that are in the upper right-hand corner are going to be a high priority risk. It's all very common sense, but as I frequently say, project management is a bunch of common sense tools and techniques that we build together into a framework. Now here's a little bit more rigorous probability and impact matrix, because there's always a danger that you and I, when talking about the risk, may disagree. I call it medium priority, you call it, or I call it medium impact, you call it high impact. I call it high probability, you call it low probability. Well, by trying to be a bit more rigorous in this 5x5 grid, maybe helps us agree. It would be common when using this kind of grid to have descriptive words against each of these points along the two scales. For impact, low, minor, moderate, significant, and high could be expressed in terms of percentage of the budget. Low financial impact might be 1 to 2% of project budget. High might be 50% of project budget. The criteria are going to vary from company to company. In terms of probability, one that I've heard used, not likely, means that, or could be interpreted as, some member of the project team has heard of this event happening on a project, but none of us have actually encountered it. Likely, in the middle of the probability axis, might be, oh, we think there's a 50% chance of this happening, 50% chance of it not happening, and so on. If you are using this kind of grid, it's good to choose a legend that describes what those points are. Maybe we're more likely to agree, or at least it enriches the discussion. Now here's the same grid, 5x5 grid, 5 choices of probability, 5 choices of impact, but we have numbers on them, and this helps us prioritize, because if it's a moderate probability, that would be a number 3. If it's a very high impact, that would be a number 4. Multiply the two together, you get 12. On this probability and impact matrix, also known, sometimes known as a heat map, obviously anything 15 or higher is very high priority. In fact, maybe within our organization, we simply do not proceed with a risk that's up there. That a response must be undertaken to get the plot, the point for that risk down and to the left into smaller numbers. And here is an example risk register. As you can see, we're using the concept here of a risk statement. As a result of fluctuating foreign exchange rates, that's something that we know, they do fluctuate. The risk event is that in 1 year's time, when we issue a purchase order for a certain piece of equipment from Europe, that the Canadian dollar might be down 15% from what it is now. I say 15% because we often will choose a specific risk event rather than a vague one. The effect would be so many dollars added to the so many dollars further required for the budget. Probability might be a probability of 1, impact might be an impact of 5, the priority would be a 5 on the scale of 1 to 25. We have room here for a response, and we're identifying the owner, the person on the project team that's keeping an eye on this particular risk so that we don't just ignore it after creating the risk register during project planning. So this is qualitative risk analysis.